And welcome back once again to the PCS Summer. We have had 2 games in the books. One of them, not quite the record, but quite a fast one, with Beyond Gaming really turning up the heat in that last one, even getting ourselves a dancing Rift Herald. I am Pyrotechnics, he is Clement, and our wonderful sponsors you can see right down there at the bottom of the screen. CTBC Bank, China Airlines, and Chunghwa Telecom. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, Clement, this next game, I feel like this is going to be one that will definitely tell us quite a bit about where these two teams are. Berjaya Dragons taking on Alpha Esports.
Berjaya so far has already taken 2 wins against Liab and against Impunity. So, getting a third here definitely props them up quite comfortably in that playoffs position. They want to continue this trend going forward. And for them, I feel like they're a team that is still running into sort of the same issues that they had last split. It's very obvious that they can only win on a few select champions, and that's Gwen, Lee Sin, and Ezreal. So I feel like everyone knows about this, and everyone sort of bans accordingly, especially the Gwen pick. We have seen teams to try to keep it out of Ozzy's hand, and if you take it out, it feels like they lack firepower. So that's what I'm going to look for here. I feel like a lot of teams have already figured that out, and if Alpha Esports does target ban them, what else can they go to?
Yeah, it's definitely potentially a crutch for this team that they're going to look to try and overcome. Of course, this team had made changes early on the split, bringing Arashi in. He may not have been the best jungler in terms of stats, but he certainly has the best headset game in the league. I'm willing to give him that point.
Yeah, Arashi for me has been doing okay, but generally speaking, their early game has suffered quite a bit. They haven't found a consistently winning lane just yet. And Ozzy, even though he's a pretty good mechanical star, I feel like he had made a lot of mistakes yesterday as well. But we'll look at Alpha Esports and how they can punish.
Alpha Esports, of course, 3Z, K-Babe, Xiaotu, On, and Sheng. See if they can overcome. They did find one win. It was against Liab last week. Will they be able to add another one to that column as they look to close out their first round robin? And we'll have to see. I mean, Berjaya Dragons have been a team that have been able to be punished. We'll see if Alpha are the team capable of doing it. I'm looking across this board, though. We have seen some good individual performances on a handful of these players, but it does seem like the communication issues do start to punish them a little bit. The coordination, it's not quite there. Maybe they can improve. We'll have to see. Our featured matchup, of course, will be the top side, Ozzy versus 3Z, and a little different when it comes to the champion pools of these two players.
Yeah, both of these top laners don't get a lot of love for them junglers. They're kind of just left on an island for the most part, but one does scale up and become a split pusher, and that is Ozzy on the left side you see right here. Not exactly a terrific early game, but he does make up with it much later down the line as their star player on Berjaya. For 3Z, I feel like he's been mainly weak side. We've seen some glimmers of hope, some early aggression come out that does succeed, but for the most part, he does crumble when the enemy puts a bit more pressure to him in the laning phase, and that's what I really want to check up on this matchup. I don't think there's going to be a lot of jungle interference either way, so how well will 3Z hold up to someone who is higher up on the table like Ozzy? Can he still get a decent laning phase if he is playing something completely just weak side like the Mundo? And we'll see how that one does pan out. Going into the ban phase, I think this is really interesting in terms of a draft because both sides know that the other team is pretty much a one-track team. So if they can take out each other's best weapons on the starting rounds, it really leaves the draft wide open for both teams to try and create and reinvent themselves.
Taking a look at how we start things off here is the Olaf ban against K-Babe on the Berjaya Dragons side. They also will take a shot at the rise of Xiaotu. Alpha, though, it's more about those power picks, the Viego, the Xin Zhao. We haven't even really seen those into the hands of Arashi.
The big specter lurking in this draft is definitely the LeBlanc. Both of these mid laners probably do favor the LeBlanc over anything else. And Alpha Esports, now they have to think about it. Do they want to hand LeBlanc over to Minji? That's kind of a difficult thing to do here. So we have a couple of power picks here. LeBlanc and Gwen both open, which is rather surprising. It looks like the two teams are trying to trade for their power picks. I'm actually really surprised that they're not insta-locking one or the other here. Huh.
Taking their time on this one. And will it actually be the comfort pick for Arashi? They lock in the Lee Sin with both those power picks available.
Yeah, very interesting draft so far. We did mention that For Berjaya Dragons, their 3 must-have picks are Ezreal, Gwen, and Lee Sin. Like, they've actually only won on these picks, so they need to secure them pretty early on in the draft. And it looks like Gwen for them is actually going to slip down on the priority for both sides here. The one game Alpha Esports did win was Aphelios and On, just hard carrying them in the later game team fight, so they're going to go for that. But the LeBlanc is surprisingly just completely untouched here, so I wonder if both teams have screamed at each other or have seen each other's solo queue records where they have detected a bit more counter picks that we are not privy to, which is kind of forcing this draft into sort of weird territories. First off, Lee Sin, to me, is not a first pick, but, you know, it is a Rashi comfort champion, so they're going for that. And the Thresh is pretty reasonable. Then the Gwen is coming back in, so I think we're slowly returning to normal after after a couple picks have been traded back and forth. Maybe the team's trying to fake each other out a little bit.
Yeah, it's the must picks coming in for the Berjaya Dragon side. All we need now is an Ezreal. And there is the return to some semblance of order as Jiatu locks in the LeBlanc. So some powerful picks on the Alpha Esports side. It just seems like the order may be a little bit shuffled. Both teams kind of bluffing a bit and nobody calling.
And we have seen from Minji, he is willing to take the Zoe into the LeBlanc matchup. Traditionally, that is sort of a counter pick that does favor LeBlanc, but we have seen very highly skilled Zoes being able to dodge out and still win that matchup regardless. So maybe that is what Minji has on the cards for himself. Alpha Esports, in the meantime, betting away the Jinx. I mean, sure, you could do that. Probably not going to be running Ezreal with a Thresh, which feels a little bit weird. But,
yeah, I suppose. But On is more of the Jinx player, it seems, of these two. He's already got the Aphelios, though, so hey.
To be completely honest, I feel like K2, from what we've seen of him, he's probably just going to slam a Varus. And I don't really see K2 going on the hyper carry train in this sort of a team environment, but we'll see what he does here. For Alpha Esports, that's likely going to be a top lane Tahm Kench. You know, even though Riot has specifically said they are nerfing Tahm Kench in the top lane to try and move him towards support, it really hasn't been the case.
Yeah, they said the same thing about Lulu a long time ago. So, Tahm Kench, probably in the hands of 3Z. It'll be the first time he'll debut on that champion, but we don't know what... well, actually, we do know what Ozzy's going to be playing because the Gwen has been locked in. And that is going to be the Lissandra, the traditional neutralizing matchup there from Minji. And as you mentioned it, Clement, I think your prophecies may be coming true here with the Varus being hovered. We'll have to see if it does get the lock-in, but it does kind of have all the trappings of a Berjaya Dragon signature composition.
Yeah, Berjaya's draft priority is, for me, a lot of times very apparent, and sometimes a little bit detrimental, to be absolutely honest. So, just looking at this, going for the Lissandra, which I'm a little bit surprised because Minji is pretty high priority in terms of their damage dealing, and when you want to force feed Gwen a lot of side lane waves, then you most likely aren't going to go for Jinx because they do contest each other for resources. Varus, to me, was the more obvious answer here. So Berjaya, very clearly, they have a pretty safe bottom half of the map, and Gwen can just play a 1v1 matchup against 3Z. Interestingly enough, we do have 3Z going for the Jace. This isn't as one-sided as a matchup as most of Jace's matchups are against melee champions. Gwen can actually outplay, and we have seen a lot of Gwen solo kills just level 6. If you hit the needlework, it's very easy to then chase down the kill. So it is a safe matchup, I would say, and it is a matchup that a lot of times we have seen teams, instead of investing in the Jace, kind of just leaving him there to make sure that he can get a smooth 1-5 and not really focus on him either way. Definitely Alpha Esports still playing for more of a bottom side matchup. I have said a lot about weak side Jaces. It's not my favorite thing to draft, but I can understand in this scenario, at least he's going to stay safe 1-5.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit more of the 3Z style. You know, we talked about how we expected both of these top laners to kind of just 1v1 on each other, not as much jungle attention as we would expect to see from different teams, because it just doesn't get prioritized as much with these two. So I'm curious to see how that Jace matchup ends up going for the Berjaya Dragons and for Alpha Esports. Of course, the Tahm Kench ends up getting swapped into the bottom, so we will get a support Kench to pair it with On's Aphelios in this one. And the mid lane matchup, well, we've seen this show a couple of times. LeBlanc into the Lissandra. It does seem like the top is probably going to be our marquee to watch.
Yeah, I think so. And something to point out is that Ozzy actually went for the exhaust during the ban pick phase. Now, I'm not sure if he locked it in the entire way, but if he did, it would be a super aggressive room. Like, trying to think about how Jace is going to escape from Gwen level 6 with exhaust is a pretty harrowing picture. So we'll see if he goes with the aggressive rune in the end. On the other hand, we do have to talk about this Tahm Kench in the bottom lane. The important thing to remember is that he does not have Devour pre-6 anymore. So the lane actually plays out a lot more aggressive than you might think it goes. The big change is that you actually see Tahm Kench diving forward with the W and trying to make ganks happen rather than staying very far backward. So it's an interesting dynamic, and it's much more aggressive than what we're used to in the past. It's not really that much of a defensive lane anymore. So we'll see how that one pans out. On the other hand, I do actually like Xiaotu and K-Babe's chances in the 2v2. I feel like early on, Volibear is just such a powerhouse that they might be able to overpower the counter pick coming in from the Lissandra and still establish the 2v2 win. So if that's the case, I expect Alpha Esports to have a very strong bottom side and for them to try to play through it. And for Berjaya Dragons to just try to keep Gwen safe on the top lane, isolate that lane, and on the other hand, just try to drag it out on the rest of the map, not go super aggressive, make sure they cancel each other out. And in the late game, Ozzy should be able to carry them. So it's an early game dynamic for Alpha, much more of a later game investment coming in from Berjaya.
Yeah, we'll see if Berjaya can take it all the way to that late game. They are the team that is a little bit further up the standings, but haven't been able to find a win for a little over a week here and now. For Alpha Esports, they only found their first very recently and are looking to try and find more. Do like what they're drafting, what they're bringing out here. Perhaps we get a little bit more aggression in that bottom side than what we are used to. In a number of cases, looks like we are waiting for the game to get started, but you see the extreme concentration on the faces of the Alpha Esports members.
Yeah, On is a very interesting player to watch because he is a player that was remarkably candid in the past when talking about like some of his mistakes or just his loss of passion. He was on top of the world after season 5, but took a pretty long hiatus before returning to pro with Alpha Esports, and he flat out said after a couple of times years pro that he just kind of lost passion for the game, was kind of tired with it, which actually happens to a lot of pros even though they don't admit it. It's very hard to continue to catch up.
Burnout's a real thing.
It is. It's very difficult to cope with. And I feel like On's always been rather fun to interview and to watch on screen. And talking about what's on screen, they actually have a cat, so I'm already rooting for Berjaya. That is
Arashi Cat Cam.
Ooh, I think they gave him a nice shave as well. Probably pretty hot in Thailand, so.
Yeah, unfortunately goes off screen as Arashi kind of just there in the front of the camera as we look to load into our game. I think for Berjaya Dragons, this squad, it does seem like they've tunneled a lot on these comfortable picks for them, but I wonder how well it will work out, right? Because it has been a little while since we've seen this team actually pick up a win. But Alpha is one of those teams that necessarily can be punished by maybe not always the strongest composition, or maybe not always the most like S tier meta picks in the game. That being said, if you're going to have a comfort champion that that you must pick, Gwen is a very powerful one already. So I do like what Ozzy's bringing out here. I wonder for Arashi, though, because the Lee Sin priority, there are a lot of other options, but he seems to prefer it so heavily. I don't know if this becomes a problem down the line.
I have to agree with you. When you're such a one-track team, it becomes incredibly easy to ban. And I think it's really funny in this draft that we sort of got a gentleman's agreement where neither side took out each other's best options. That's what I'm so surprised about. I feel like they would try to just, force each other to play something new and say that, okay, let's see what's actually under the hood. Do you have a second option or not? Instead, what we got was both sides just shaking hands and saying, yes, Xiaotu, you are allowed to play Lip Lock. Yes, Ozzy, please try to carry your team on Gwen. We'll find out who has the better go-to move.
Yeah, that's always refreshing to see, right? Everybody getting a chance to play the champions that they feel the best on. And it just makes the game so much more fun, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, we get to see the best sides of both teams in this particular matchup. And judging by the runes, we do actually have the exhaust coming out. So very interesting here. It is going to make him somewhat vulnerable to ganks, and I do expect there to be quite a bit of top lane attention given this setup by both junglers.
Does change things a bit, yeah.
Yeah, just to keep Ozzy alive here. We do have the pathy from K-Babe out towards the top lane, so it does look like Ozzy is going to be playing rather passively coming in. We can even see Ozzy already starting up with a very late leash and kind of foregoing the first wave.
Yeah, definitely going to keep himself back just a little bit. Ooh, Arashi double dip in there as he's able to get that finisher on the blue buff. And I think the Berjaya game plan certainly will swing a little bit on Arashi here, this jungler that they bring in to play with after a handful of games previously with Enzo. Of course, Enzo didn't leave the lineup. He just went down to support.
And we still have yet to see Enzo really pop off on the support position. He's played a couple of Thresh games, but I think my criticism of Enzo so far is even though he has gone into support, he hasn't been able to become the main initiator for the team, and that's really what you're looking for in a position like the support. So we'll see if he can actually get a couple more fights going. So far, Berjaya, one of their biggest weaknesses in my mind is that they have a very difficult time pushing leads because they don't have a stable initiation. They have Arashi on Lee Sin, they have Enzo who's a new support, and it becomes a little bit difficult at times to extend their leads, even when sometimes if Ninja and Ozzy get off to a good start.
Yeah, that's why we've seen this team not necessarily been able to follow up with as many wins. Enzo goes fishing for a hook very aggressively as he takes a lot of poke in exchange for it. K2 will dish some back onto On, but you know, I do think this 2v2, normally we talk about the 2v2 just being like, all right, it's going to be a farm fest. AD carries aren't as relevant anymore. We can probably ignore it for a little while. I think that might be a little different in this game, just because of the way these two teams play, and also because of the lane setup. I mean, seeing the Tahm Kench, I kind of expect some more aggression.
Yeah, we could see the Tahm Kench actually be very close to one-shot range against Enzo, but I will say Enzo is willing to play this aggressive because he knows that the enemy opponent leashed for their jungler. He is very well aware that K-Babe did head towards the top side, and he's willing to trade HP to hopefully get some sort of a over-aggression from Alpha's bot lane. So far, Catfish not biting. I think they're very well aware that the Lee Sin is also around the area. They have the pings exactly on his spot. So good job by Alpha Esports so far, just be able to sense out where Arashi is on the map and playing safe accordingly.
Yeah, and I think that's something Alpha would be very happy about. Looking at the game plan for this squad, should be all about the Xiao2 K-Babe combination, as it often is, as is tradition for Alpha Esports. Ooh, dangerous back place here. As Arashi in full view of the ward will go back to base. On and Shung are pretty happy with that. Ooh, the chains. Excuse me, not chains. Wrong champion.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, that's a little early for level 6. Oh, it's not Varus. I got self-debated, Clement.
Yeah, it all looks like purple projectiles. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I felt like Enzo probably overplayed his hand. Alpha knew that something was up. They knew the leash from Gwen in the top side, so they were able to ward accordingly. They got Enzo super low, and Enzo's actually losing a ton of experience for nothing here. So, not great for the 2v2 lane coming into it. You know, when you have minions dying, the EXP share definitely is still favorable if you can have both of the people taking EXP from the minion wave compared to only one. So they're losing about 20% EXP just because Enzo did have to back earlier on with low HP. We'll see if that affects any of the trades later on. Something to point out. And we are getting a little bit of a trap for K-Babe here as he doesn't spot Arashi.
No, there's going to be the Sonic Wave connecting, and nobody's taking it too. On was around, as was Shung after that with the back. Yeah, you know, to your point, Enzo, he's definitely had some struggles, I think, adapting to the support role, and it does maybe beg the question. Maybe they're going to be able to turn that perception around, though, as that was a fantastic flash flay, forcing the summoner out of Shung. Minji going to follow through and look to try and finish off the Tahm Kench for an early first blood, but they do turn it around as Minji runs out of steam. Blast Cone is going to be forced to be taken, and nobody dies just yet. Sonic Wave, Arashi will not suffer from Lee syndrome this game.
Xiaotu does find the chain, but nothing to really chase up on. As I say
Ooh,
that...
Wait a minute. Xiaotu's a little scary right now.
Yeah, that was so close for Minji. He was about to finish off Sheng just before he got the thick skin online and then saved himself. Had to burn his flash afterwards, and it will give Alpha Esports a very fortunate start onto the Drake here. That was very close to being just a straight up kill. First blood going over for Berjaya. And now that we have the bottom lane all tied up here, I do think we have to point out that this is the point where Gwen could find that solo kill we're talking about as Enzo goes in for another trade.
Yeah, there's the play. All right, we got it. First blood, K2 getting it. So here's what I'm seeing. Enzo is having a hard time hitting hooks, but he is pretty good on the flays.
I have to concur. That was a pretty easy play from Berjaya, honestly. They timed that extremely well. I think they probably spotted K-Babe leading the Dragon Pit with the pink ward, and they were willing to just go all on aggressive. You know, Alpha Esports was fronting just a little bit because their jungle was in the area, and they got punished for it.
Oh my goodness!
Goodbye,
Even more punishment, K2! Oh, he smelled blood in the water.
That has to be so painful for Alpha because they had a really good start to the laning phase. They got Enso on a free back and were able to force EXP loss. And they actually won out the bot lane skirmish, but because they overplayed their hand, they just... Ooh. That was definitely not supposed to happen.
No, definitely not. But Berjaya pick up 2 kills onto K2. I loved it. Flash forward, Chains of Corruption, swag kill. Minji taking a little bit low. Oh, Arashi in the mid does connect on that Sonic Wave, really crucial, but unfortunately can't get the kick because he didn't have the kick until just now.
Oh, that was so close to being an outright kill. Arashi ticking over to level 6 as the minions fade away, but that should buy them enough tempo just for this play here. And on the meantime, it should also force 3Z away from continuing to aggress on this top lane. Indeed, we see 3Z. He has to back out immediately knowing that his mid is gone.
Yeah, I think we see why Arashi just really opts to high prioritize this Lee Sin. He's hit so many Sonic Waves already. Guess he doesn't really have the damage to go for the full execution, but he's very clearly high skilled on this champion. I mean, Lee Sin definitely kind of a jungler 101 in just about any meta to be able to play, but Arashi certainly makes it look good.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit curious if they're going Lee Sin just because Arashi is great on it, or if they have some sort of a potential flex. After the nerf to Lee Sin's E later on, we haven't really seen him pop up in any of the lane phases. Still very popular in the jungle, but without the laning there, I kind of struggle to see him as a first pick. He's still, for me, just a tad weaker than Xin Zhao and just not as certain. You have to be very high skill level to achieve the same results. So we'll see if Arashi can continue his dominance here.
K-Babe gonna go for the chase with level advantage on that volley bear. Looks like Lee does walk away from it. And it is gonna be curious to see... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, never mind. Arashi was very safe there. He still had the Dragon's Rage. He was in no danger of dying. Even though he had a kind of a short ward hop, you can see K-Babe cannot catch up to him. And I feel like Berjaya should be able to outplay this quite well. I want to see the experience bar on Enzo to see how close he is to actually 6, because that could make a huge difference as K-Babe's coming in.
Telegraphed, just trying to cut away the wave there. That hook does land. They'll go in for the play. Lantern not needed. K2 picks up kill number 3. Operation Feed the 80 carry is in full effect.
Yeah, K-Babe definitely overplays his hand right here, and he even uses the Stormbringer to add damage. Probably knew that he wasn't going to escape either way and just opted for going back onto the play, but just well done on Arashi's side. I don't think he went back after being forced out of his own jungle. He actually just did the loopy dupe and definitely caught Alpha off guard. Here we go with the aggressive Tahm Kench.
And Arashi, they get the kickback, pinballing the Tahm Kench. Baiting that one out very well, and I think I have a feeling where the Rift Herald is going.
You know what? I changed my stance. First pick Lee Sin is totally fine. Arashi, I'm sorry. You are totally validated. I hope you can first pick Lee Sin for the rest of your days. That's okay.
Yeah. You know what? It worked out, and I was totally wrong about that Rift Herald, and Zhao was totally wrong about the timing on the chains. Unfortunately, he's just a smidge too late as Enzo is already backed. But yeah, really well played by the Berjaya bottom lane and by Arashi. It's all starting to come together here.
Yeah, that had to be so painful for Xiaotu going to that bot lane. He actually caught a glimpse of people backing with the scanner, but as you mentioned, couldn't catch up. And that also is, I think he lost a minion wave in the mid lane as well. So Minji still in a fairly decent, comfortable spot, and Arashi just seems to be everywhere.
He is. He's so mobile on this map. Can't get the execution, but he's just scaring him down. In comes the Tom Kench again. Chung does not land, but K-Babe does. Will Arashi get away? The answer is no, as the teleport will finish. Ozzy looking to make something out of nothing here. Instantly exhausted, mist thrown down. The rest of Alpha Esports collapse as they throw Ozzy in, and Zhao takes him down. Alpha Esports on the board.
Very valiant from Ozzy. Just that was kind of a weird TP and all-in coming in from him. I definitely did not pan out, and that's going to give Alpha another very easy Drake. You know, despite Berjaya having such a massively winning bottom lane, I'm kind of impressed that Alpha Esports has Drake control the entire time. Just as I say that.
Yeah, they do get the Drake, but they might lose some lives here as Shung gets just completely taken out of his own dive. K-Babe gets Shung tapping up before K2! No! K2 trying to live through this. On is going to go forward for the flash. Will trade his own life, though, and it looks like Berjaya Dragons come up with a 1 for 3 after the Dragon.
Oh, I would have been so tilted if K2 did not die right there. I felt like the game actually would have ended just because of the amount of mental pressure that would be going on for Alpha. On definitely with the correct move right there, trading his own life to get the 600 gold bounty. But at the end of the day, Alpha Esports do get the second objective right here. So Alpha, they still hold on to the probability of forcing Berjaya into a bad team fight. As we go into this play once more, it is super forced by Alpha. They want to clean this out before anything can happen. And K2 does go forward, expends the flash to get this kill secured there. And that does open him up on as he does survive the slowdown from Arashi, cleanses it, and does get the shutdown trade.
Yeah, so Alpha, you know, they get a Dragon, they get the objective for it. They do lose a lot because of the counter pressure that Berjaya were able to bring. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're too upset considering how lopsided this early game was going and the fact that they just put shutdown gold into On's pocket.
And we have seen what On can do with it. It does favor the Immortal Shield build quite a bit here. And I do like what K2 and company are doing. We have the Herald coming up very soon. In less than a minute, you want to swap your strong side over there. There's not much that Jace can do in this situation against the potential just Chains of Corruption coming out. He has to play incredibly safe here. It's going to force K-Babe to respond. Gwen's going to have some free time in the bot lane, but she should be rotating top for this Herald take. And I feel like this is a fight where it's very much in Berjaya's favor. And they should be willing to just destroy anyone who comes down on the river ramp. Ward that up. They have a lot of single target burst, and they have a great primer to start it up with the Frozen Tomb. So it should be a relatively easy Herald fight for them.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Berjaya definitely controlling a lot of the tempo here. You know, something I think we were going to really keep an eye on, but because action happened elsewhere, we didn't really watch as much, was that top side and our, you know, the perception that there wasn't going to be a whole lot of jungle pressure, which seemed to be correct. Ozzy has just had a really bad time in that lane, so he's just ended up going down bottom instead, facing off against the likes of Xiaotu. Enzo goes fishing for a hook, by the way, does find it, but Tom Kench is still able to save 3Z in this case.
Yeah, and that's always the difficult part about face-checking against champions like Lissandra and Thresh. They punish you to the maximum, and here comes Arashi.
Yeah, Arashi's in, Arashi's out, and goodbye. Shung, they do manage to keep 3Z alive, but I think this is going to be another tower here, or at least very close to it. Minions are going to run out shortly, another wave incoming for the Berjaya Dragons. I'm just really loving what the duo and the jungler have been able to do this game. This is a three-man hit squad.
Very sound play coming out from Berjaya, you know, just swapping in the strong side where you can get the Herald for free here. And meanwhile, Ozzy, his troubles continue. Oh, never mind. It does look like he is able to survive, and now Minji chasing in with the extra home guard movement speed. He does catch out K-Babe, but I'm not sure he likes what he's caught right there. Ozzy also pretty low health, isn't able to catch this one up, but in comes Arashi once more, gets the kick through the wall, but he's just off in the damage calculation, not able to find K-Babe just yet. And he's not going to take the Lee Sin Q2 forward, so K-Babe does survive on that one. As my dear co-caster is having a bit of a coughing fit right here. So I'm just going to take over for the meantime. On burns out the cleanse. Takes a bunch of damage but does stay alive. And now K2 opens up on this tower for free now. Does look like still a pretty sizable win for Berjaya as nothing is traded back onto the bottom side of the map. And they do get the tempo lead going into the Drake as well. Oh, I'm just gonna take over until Pyro comes back. Sorry about this.
You got this, Clement. I'm gonna probably need a minute. Thank you for covering.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem, man. You know, I love it when play-by-plays actually just drop out because, you know, as an analyst, I like saying everything by myself. I actually don't really like my own voice, but here we go as Ozzy does pop the miss, dodges out of the first chain, exhaust pops down, no damage here. K-Babe still follows in on this play. They're going in super hard for it, but I'm not sure what it's going to cost them. Meanwhile, On just dies in the mid lane. That was definitely an overreach from Alpha. They show all their cards, and somehow On was not notified. That was a little bit weird to me. Usually if you're diving like that, On should be underneath his own tower. He was in the middle of no man's land, and Berjaya get everything. They get the mid lane, and they also get the Drake. That was probably the worst trade in the history of trades coming out from Alpha Esports there.
I am inclined to agree, Clement, and I am officially back. Thank you for taking over the play-by-play duties.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I missed you.
You know, this is what happens when you're a flex caster. You can seamlessly make the transition, but you're absolutely right. Berjaya just got everything they wanted and more.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but it definitely seemed like as K-Babe and Shatu went on their top lane adventure, On was not notified. On was still in the middle of the lane as that happened, and he bears the brunt of the punishment on the backswing from that one. Now, another critical thing I think we should mention is whether 3Z can still keep Gwen down at this point. He's had a completely fine laning phase, has been able to just rain down bullets onto Gwen this entire time, but Gwen is an incredibly strong scaling champion, and I think whether he can control the side lane is going to be very important here to see if Alpha can actually start out 1-3-1ing the other side from Berjaya. If he gets the split push win, then the lead doesn't really matter as much from Berjaya coming in with almost a 3,000 gold advantage.
Berjaya are going to look to maybe add a little more to that, though, Clement, as they take their favored three-man here, along with Shelly, into Tier 2. Should get a charge, maybe a little bit of change off of it, but no. Just going to let that one be a one and done. Meanwhile, Minji trying to take out the blue buff here. Does find K-Babe in their own jungle, who's forced to Stormbring away.
Watching Lissandra with Everfrost is such a treat. That was kind of disgusting how long K-Babe was stunned up. Fortunately for him, he does get out during the crowd control gap there. He's able to Stormbring her out. In the meantime, we do see K2 right now with the Duskblade, able to take out about 40% of On's HP with a single piercing arrow. So
K2 is
I think
terrifying.
it's definitely to the advantage of Berjaya to actually set up shop now. And I think I do have a bit of a pause on my end, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? You took over for me. I'll take over for you in the meantime. Clement, things look good on this side. On just continues to take a little bit of extra poke from K2 this game. Those piercing arrows are doing exactly that as he tries to two-step away. And meanwhile, Berjaya Dragons have fully opened up the 1-3-1, or rather, I should say, the 1-2-2, as Arashi stands off to the side, looking to help 3Z push away. Minji, he's going to get pushed back from this minion pressure. And Alpha, they may be in a deficit, but they always find some opportunities to open up. Ooh, dangerous back location here for Arashi. The man cannot get a clean escape, unfortunately.
It does get out at the very end, and I have refreshed my browser. Everything is back to normal. I can see what's going on. I think for now, even though Berjaya does have a sizable gold lead, they still have to wait for Ozzy to get online. So it's going to be a couple more minutes until the sparks really start flying. And what Alpha Esports are looking to do is basically secure Dragon Soul before Ozzy is going to reach that, 2.5 item Gwen where he starts killing everyone. So that's kind of the game plan for Alpha right now. They are behind, but they still have I think, a decent chance at getting ahead. Never mind.
Whoa. Oh boy. Yeah, man. You talk about Everfrost. There's a reason it's not called Sometimes Frost. That is just stuns for days.
Yeah, that was a bit of a risky play from 3Z. Can Alpha get something
Okay,
back,
babe. There's the playback. Teleport coming in for the counterplay. But again, K2, once he doesn't get deleted, he just shreds with his damage. But Xiaotu comes in to delete him. Will he get out with his life? Minji guessing that Xiaotu goes with the rest of his team, but Shung's going to swallow him up and spit him back out for the safety. And Xiaotu makes good his escape.
I love your operating clause right there. If he doesn't get deleted, and Xiaotu says, well, I will take that if out of the equation. Make sure he goes down for the 700 gold. Really nicely done by Alpha, and I think just making sure that K2 doesn't have summoners is going to work really well into their win condition, as we've outlined. Just make sure you can actually get the Dragon Soul before Ozzy is ever in the game, and it is going to be an Infernal Soul. So getting that one is the highest win rate soul that you can get in League of Legends.
Oh yeah. Berjaya, they'd like to have that too. They do have the one Infernal Dragon themselves, and as it is setting up to spawn, they will get the inside track, but there's still time for Alpha to respond to this, as they will try to set up. I mean, critically, Xiaotu does get also another bounty, as they had taken down K2 for only the second time. 3Z will continue his tower-destroying mission. Get one. Oh, the hook onto Xiaotu, the playback. They're going to get revenge. Minji with the kill credit, and there was really nowhere for the rest of the team to go as Shung flashes away. Ozzy is sent to deal solo with 3Z, but this should be an easy dragon take.
I'm so sad for Alpha. Really, that can't happen when your win condition is hoping that Ozzy doesn't come online, and now it's going to be hard for them to force critical team fights, and I think Berjaya with his Drake, the stats don't even matter for them. It's just more about dragging the game on until Ozzy and that terrifying Gwen can come online. In the meantime, Alpha Esports, they use this time to clear the entire top side and get a couple more econ advantage on 3Z, but honestly, I don't think Jace actually matters that much in this game, because if you're talking about poke war, K2 actually hurts a lot more than the Jace, so you don't really want to go into poke wars anyway. I feel like Alpha's options are getting a little bit limited in this scenario, even though the gold difference isn't that large. I feel like Alpha might be looking to force 5v5 teamfight around Baron pretty soon.
All right, the Chains of Corruption land. Enzo drags Shung away so that Arashi's Sonic Wave doesn't connect, and not able to find a full combo to unload onto Tom Kench. Another Sonic Wave this time does land on the Xiaotu. He's not going to take it, as there wouldn't be a whole lot of chance of following up here. Alpha just getting forced back over and over again now, as the 4-1 just continues to be a headache to deal with.
Yeah, and Arashi cannot miss. He's definitely feeling it. This is the most scary thing about junglers getting their mains, whether it's Nidalee or Lee Sin, is when they're on point, it starts getting really hairy, and they force a free flash.
Yeah, now Enzo's just starting to come online with all those hooks too, forcing out a follow. Shung saving the life of his jungler, but for how long? There is a turnaround here as the Tom Kench has started to move over the wall. Teleport may come a little bit too late as Ozzy has come to the party. The mist is thrown down, and the needlework, instant exhaust. Xiaotu looking for an execution here somewhere, but he's the one who gets executed, and now 3Z on a run for his life, and in goes Arashi. Can't find the kill pressure as he's out. 1 for none on the side of Berjaya Dragons.
Oh, he found the perfect Sonic Wave, but the knockback was even better from the 3Z. He actually keeps himself alive through that. That would have been the highlight play for sure. Thank you very much, 3Z, for denying it.
Let's take a look at that play again. It kind of was a bit of a back and forth, but Arashi really has been the main engage tool for this team, and it's just layering the CC. I cannot believe the Volley Bear got away from this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's the 4th Sonic Wave he's hit in a row already, and it's getting kind of ridiculous. Okay, yeah, at least he misses that one. I can feel happier about that because he's actually human. We have identified that, and the key thing here is that Xiaotu actually goes in without the rest of the team being in any position to follow up damage. So he was on pretty much a suicide mission there, doesn't find the target with the distortion, and the rest of the team does pay for it. So unfortunately, with the amount of summoners that have gone from Alpha Esports, this is, I think, a very clear sign that Ozzy is going to come online. That's there's no question about that in this game for me anymore. And I feel like Alpha Esports, they have, we have to outline that, oh, maybe their game plan is the Infernal Soul, maybe their game plan is the Baron Bait, but I think now they have backed away until the very last bunker. This is the last line of defense, and that's Hyper Carry on. So
yeah.
we'll see if he can actually make it work.
They can try. They certainly can try. I mean, and there are worse players to put your faith in than a veteran like On. So it's always a possibility for Alpha Esports, but things are looking a little rough right now, even if the gold game is not too far out of control. Berjaya are now in a position where they can start threatening on this Baron. I don't know if they want to take the 5v5 unless they're the ones engaging it, but they are going to set up vision around that side.
And I'm not really sure about this Cosmic Drive. I feel like a lot of times if you're going against Berjaya's compositions, the Banshees actually is a little bit better if you want to have a little bit more survivability. So it's getting hard for Xiaotu. Every time he goes in, we see Minji has held on to the Frozen Tomb for him. Breezy with the speed up.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a lot of damage dealt. Rashi again, just, it's not 100%, but man, he nails a lot of those sonic waves.
Yeah, we could.
You can see K-Babe's gone for very fast.
Oh, Quad Infernal.
It's entirely possible. Here comes Sheng looking for Ozzy. He's got himself a... Well, he doesn't even actually need to take the Lantern. Look at that damage that's being dealt by the Berjaya Dragons here. Ozzy tanking it all before Xiaotu does finish the job, but he's going to try and distort his way away with the Mimic. Does manage to do just that. So it ends up being a trade 1-for-1 K-Babe for Ozzy, but I don't think we're done just yet. Dragon, this would be the third Infernal for Berjaya Dragons.
I gotta give Xiaotu his due. That was pretty slick play coming in from the LeBlanc. He has no spell shield that is still able to fool everyone and slink out of the screen on the right side during that team fight. Very critical 1-for-1 trade back there to get something in for Alpha Esports, but it's not really enough at this point. Triple Infernal with a Lethality Varus is one of the last things you want to see in the game, and this team fight was a lot closer just because K2 did miss his starting ultimate. Ozzy, with the amount of damage at this point, he's only 2 items, is getting pretty ridiculous as he's able to basically kill 2 champions by himself, and then Xiaotu does get a pretty good trade back on the back end of it. Alpha is going to go for the high tempo Baron force, but this is risky.
Yeah, they're going to commit to it. There's really no backing out of the pit at this point. We're looking for the smite. They do manage to secure it. Now will they survive? Ozzy and Minji trapping them in the back of the pit here as Xiaotu getting pushed around the side. In comes the bear. Berjaya Dragons haven't found the kill just yet. The kick goes in, looking to finish off somebody, anybody. They're also low, but they're not dead. It's just going to be shooting the fish in the barrel. Shutdown goes for 3Z now, and they turn it around. Ozzy does manage to find the kill, and finally they open it up as K2 picks up the double, but it is not out cleanly. And for Alpha Esports, that could have gone a heck of a lot worse as they escape with 2 members with Baron buff.
Oh, what a nail-biter that fight was. It was incredibly close, and unfortunately K2 did miss a lot of his abilities. Wasn't able to get the finishing blow that would have gave him resets and the ability to move in and just get more kills off of that. He could have used his Dust Blade and got a lot more done there. Doesn't find the initial targets, and what this means for Alpha Esports is, they don't have to worry about Ozzy side lane split pushing that much because they do have the Baron buff. So let's watch this again. K2 does have the blue buff, so he essentially has unlimited potential to continue to open up on these targets right here. Now does miss the first piercing arrow. Let's force Xiaotu out, which is pretty nice on the back end, but look at how low 3Z and Sheng are in this team fight. I can't believe they hung around for so long and they didn't die, allowing Alpha a chance to open up on this. It was probably the wrong idea on the back end looking at it. Alpha definitely traded for the worst part there. It was a 1-for-2. But you have to say that at the end, you know, could have gone much worse.
And now they actually have some sieging potential with at least a couple members on Baron. They gotta be careful though. Oh no, K-Babe is just caught in a train of CC and into the willing jaws of K2. At least they get the turret for it. Alpha, yeah, I like what they were trying to do with the Baron, and it's incredible that they all lived for as long as they did. It seemed like Berjaya were like, wait, we didn't kill them, what do we do now? And they just danced around each other for a moment or two.
That was actually pretty painful to watch, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, how is this happening? K2 just hit someone, please, anyone! And K2 missed 2 piercing arrows there, pretty critical. He could have cleaned that up a lot better. Unfortunately for Alpha, they do get the Baron here, so they do keep alive, but at this point I think all eyes really are on. We have seen through multiple team fights that with how much misdirection that Xiaotu is able to do, that On has actually stayed relatively safe throughout all of it. The next team fight for me is really where we see if he can actually survive through everything, and it's pretty interesting. He's building a very low damage build. Does have the Collector, but no IE, goes for GA directly next. So this is a build where he's basically saying that I think Ozzy's going to come in and just kill me, but after that trade, then I'm still going to come up again. The second coming of On is going to be much better than the first.
Well, and this is the game plan for Alpha Esports here. Trying to put it on the backs of their veteran player. Still a chance in this one. It's very difficult. Xiaotu's still sniffing for picks. And he's gotten out of some situations that honestly I don't think he had any right to, but his LeBlanc has been looking pretty good. Next Infernal coming up in less than a minute. If Berjaya secure this would be Soul and a quad Infernal. If Alpha secure it, then they keep those Infernal Dragons rolling.
I'll be honest, I don't know how you lose a game with quad Infernal. That seems impossible to me. Especially when you're playing Lethality Varus. Like, he's doing 400 damage a pop to On.
Oh.
On, where are you going? That's a pretty dangerous path.
Yeah, takes a lot of damage. Doesn't get completely chunked out, but he's going to have to wait till he heals up a little bit. This is dangerous as the Dragon's half a minute away. Okay, Redemption coming through there. Xiaotu, he's caught out a little bit. Man, Arashi, just these sonic waves every time.
I can't believe On didn't die there. Berjaya was hesitant because they didn't see Xiaotu and K-Babe on the map. Now K-Babe, he's trying to get a surround here, but that's kind of risky in a poke situation. I feel like Berjaya can actually just fight forward.
I think they might try for it. Dragon, gonna get procced by the piercing arrow. On will keep this one alive. And it's just a standoff. As the Dragon starts to go down, K-Babe looks to come in here. Channel on the piercing arrow doesn't connect. Teleport coming in. Oh, this is the pincer. They bring in 2. And come on and slam, says K-Babe. Looking for the kill, but Ozzy denies everything. The needlework, and that Gwen is online. Skip, slash, and just dash through the enemy team. And Berjaya Dragons will claim the spoils to secure Infernal Soul.
I'm kind of baffled by that engage. I understand that they hit a shock blast onto K2 and they want to go all in, but the problem about the positioning there is you cannot play a pincer move against Gwen. Gwen pops her miss, and the other half of your team can't do anything. So, I don't know, that was just bewildering to me. K2 still had his summoners, is able to get out very easily, and they instantly kill the pincer. So,
yeah,
I'm just not sure why Alpha would play this game this way. I feel like I had a much better chance actually just going in one direction, but as we see this, K-Babe goes in, his initial burst doesn't land. The rest of the team has an Infernal Drake attacking them, and they have Ozzy in the front line. And they don't do anything, because he's untargetable.
Alright, we're not out of the woods just yet with the action. Arashi getting chased down by 3Z. The kick away, the follow back. Arashi is just an aggro machine, but 3Z will take him down. Unfortunately, doesn't live very long to be happy about that. And man, it's just a whole lot of chaos in this jungle right now. Minji, they have Infernal Soul. The fighting ability should be on point here. Ozzy unstoppable, and they're just letting K2 plow through the line for the ace. They lose Arashi, but they claim the rest of Alpha Esports.
Well, at least you got Arashi. You showed that Lee Sin who's boss. Let's go,
Moral
Alpha.
victory there. I don't know if there's enough time for them to end. I mean,
think
that's a
there is.
long death timer. They might be able to do it. Yeah, I think you're right.
The game's over. We didn't really get to see the start of that fight. I don't mind Alpha trying to do this, just trying to catch people out. You know, it's really unexpected for them to be on the bottom side of the map. But unfortunately, Berjaya just have way too much damage, and trying to catch a Lee Sin who's that slippery and who is on top of his game just proved to be the death knell coming in for Alpha Esports. Berjaya walk away with a very sweet third victory.
Yeah, Berjaya should be happy about that one. And of course, most importantly, we see the cat just flit out of sight. No, Berjaya, like, you can see why they go for this Lee Sin pick. It's so comfortable for Arashi. He is everywhere on the map. He sets the team up for a lot of these plays. I think we saw some improvements out of Enzo on the Thresh. Outside of lane, the hooks started to come in. Really just good control of the objective game. I think they seeded a couple of dragons early on, but they were able to come back in and get a lot more bang for their buck. Alpha tried pretty much every trick in the book. I loved what they attempted with the Sneaky Baron. All of their members lived a lot longer than they probably should have. They got out with 2. But unfortunately, it just seemed like it was too little too late.
This was a bit of a head-scratcher game for me. I felt like Alpha Esports, their biggest goal deficits came out from plays where Xiaotu and Kebe were doing something, and the rest of the team was not even on the same page. They were on a different planet. It was so weird. Like, the play where they went top lane, they overdived, and the rest of the team was in the middle of mid lane. Like, that's
the communication issues, though, that we've seen multiple times. That this is still been a problem for Alpha, and I think they're going to have to try and find some solutions there that they just haven't really been able to synchronize up well enough to secure wins over, most of the teams in the league. They did get that win over Liab, but still in the hunt for more.
The last team fight as well. Like, I was saying before they even got in, that the pincer move is not the play there. Like, if you're going up against a Gwen, you can't do that pincer move. You can't target him, so your pincer doesn't work. And I just felt like Alpha Esports, they hold on very close for most of the game, but then they completely blow it in critical moments. And it like we've been saying, it really does come down to the communication. And we can see that the players playing from one server are clearly on one side, and the players on the other server on another side. So it's just I don't think Berjaya actually played this game overall that well. Like, Ozzy was very far behind. If you looked at when he hit 100 CS, he was 44 CS behind the Jays at that point. So, if we just take out some of these mistakes here, I definitely feel like Alpha Esports could have put up a much better showing. But I will give them that this game was kind of funny in the fact that a lot of the fights were were sort of kind of random, and you could
a little different.
They kept on going for these death rush tactics that were actually working. They were stalling Berjaya out pretty well, but it just kind of collapsed at the end when the big team fights finally rolled around.
I will tell you, Clement, in over on my side of the pond, they call that an NA RAM. But Berjaya Dragons still got the win at the end. I think the real big kicker was just K2 able to poke out anybody he wanted to on the Alpha side. Died a handful of times. Shout to good deletion in that one, but it was so hard to touch him. And Arashi, individually, performance-wise, I think Arashi set up so much for his team. Yeah, there were mistakes on the Berjaya Dragons, but I like that he was just about everywhere he needed to be on the map. Although K2 will be our MVP, and he dished out a heck of a lot of damage.
Congratulations to him. 12 kills is, I think, probably his personal best so far in this split. I'll check on that later. Great damage to gold ratio. Played the lane extremely well, just punishing the bottom lane for Alpha Esports on their transgressions of overstaying in the lane a little bit and trying to front that their jungler was closer than he really was. I think that was the critical bluff that Berjaya's bot lane really called out on Alpha Esports, and they set themselves up for a great win. I think this is huge for Berjaya because it really shows that they can win games in other ways rather than just relying on Ozzy. Ozzy, frankly, wasn't online at all. Like, he had a terrible laning phase, and they were still able to get a strong laning win elsewhere on the map to continue to snowball the game.
Yeah, finding other win conditions than Ozzy certainly helped out for them, but we are going to go on break as we are at that halfway point. When we return, you will not want to miss it. Machi Esports taking on Beyond Gaming. We'll be back in just 10.